So if you think about doing this to your motorhome, you got B-class, camper van, heavy expedition rig, whatever you got, just get out there. This isn't to dissuade, it's to empower. If the price is so worth it. We all travel, that's what we do, that's why you're watching this video. Love to explore. And yeah, sometimes you're gonna get jammed up, but just stay calm. You're gonna get yourself out with a hell of a story to tell. So that's it, enjoy the video. Everything was going great. We aired down all 6 tires. We typically go down to low 20s or so. Yeah, we're about a mile down the beach or so. No problems. Sand wasn't too bad at all, and no indications that there was something amiss. As soon as we went to back up to those dunes, that's when we started getting slippage. And that was mistake number 2 on my part. Instead of slowing down and thinking for a second and saying what's going on, I did the old when in doubt, power out situation and tried rocking it back and forth. And yeah, that was it. We were buried. Too late. Nothing we could do at that point. Number 1 bonehead mistake I made was I forgot to flip the hubs. I can't believe it. Been going out there for better part of 20 years and never once got stuck in anything we were ever out there in. And to do it making such a silly mistake is a little frustrating. But again, we're all human. We all make mistakes, and that's it. We just move on. So if you're not familiar, old school 4x4 systems, you had to pull your lever to go into 4-wheel drive, but you also had to get out, and where your front tires are in the center, there was a little knob you had to twist, which we'll show you in a few minutes on the video, to put you into 4-wheel drive and lock that axle. So you pull the lever, it activates your transfer case, but the axle is not putting power to the tires. And we aired down, and I was distracted and made that little oopsie. So luckily, the way our rig is set up, even if we bury ourselves all the way down, we're not down to the frame, which is great because then you have a gigantic 10-ton boat anchor on the sand. Luckily, when we bury ourselves in, we're onto the axles. Obviously not great, but way better than the frame. And so we have our axles in the sand here, we have our jacks in the sand here, and I'm trying an old Jeep trick, soaring back and forth on the tires, knowing it pretty much wasn't going to work. But we were already buried at that point, so I figured, you know, what do you got to lose? You're not going in any deeper, so why not have a little fun and see if you can get yourself unstuck that way. Obviously that doesn't work, so we turn to our recovery gear. So yeah, this is definitely not one of my proudest moments, this entire video essentially. So if you spotted it, my next mistake was we put the sand ladders in the wrong angle. So we put them almost vertical because, again, I was doing the low-hanging fruit thing and just seeing if it would work. The sand ladders like to be much more of like a bridge action, so you can drive out. And when they go like this, your tires can grab them and just, especially in sand when it's nice and soft, they just torpedo them right into the sand, which is what happened to us. And you gotta go fetch those things. Take that lesson, and I won't be doing that again either. And again, I've used these multiple times, and on lighter rigs, usually even using them like that, they do work. But yeah, not that time around. As we stated in a couple other videos, if you've seen them, our ethos with this motorhome is that we treat it like a big SUV. We jump in it on the fly, always have it loaded with everything we need. That includes recovery gear, spare tires, even some non-perishable snacks and our water system and everything else. So spare the moment trip like this, where we go to the beach thinking we're going to be home in an hour and a half. Luckily, we have everything we need to get ourselves out. We have our sand ladders, our shovels, and a couple other tricks we have up our sleeves. We have our winch. None of that needed to be used on this. In fact, we did have some people offer to winch us out or act like an anchor. Truthfully, I just wanted to see if we can self-recover. This was a great real-world test of what we could and couldn't do. And I had a theory that we could lift ourselves out of the sand using our hydraulic leveling jacks. If you're familiar with off-roading at all, usually I'm sure you heard of a high lift jack. I have them on our Jeeps. We have used them. There's nowhere you can do this on a motorhome. It's just not practical. You got fiberglass, the bumpers, everything. Even if the bumpers can handle the weight, I don't know how else the jack would handle it. We got to put that theory into practice on this trip, and it worked beautifully. It was art in motion. I love it. Now I start to actually use my brain and put my my previous plans into practice. We use the hydraulics, we pick the whole rig up, and we put the sand ladders underneath the tires where they should go. And you can see we almost get out. It's just, it's probably mistake number 4, I lost count at this point. But being a C-Class motorhome, especially a gas-powered one, our front axle is very, very light in relation to our weight. Our rear axle is 70% of our weight, if not more. So when that's buried, it's just too much weight to pop out of the hole that the front axle can provide traction for with the weight on that. So it almost pulled out, but it was just too much. So when we use these on SUVs and trucks, that's not a problem. They pull right out. But that was a good lesson. That I'm not going to consider that one a mistake. I'm going to say that's a lack of experience. And yeah, so on the motorhomes, traction boards on the rear axle. at this point, we're done playing around, and we're gonna get ourselves out. We're gonna do it properly this time. So use the hydraulics, raise the whole rig up again. We bury our holes underneath the front tires and pack the sand down, and that allows us to lower it, and you're almost starting from square one on top of the sand with the front axle. The rear axle, our jacks don't have quite enough throw to completely lift it out of the sand. So, but it does allow us to get the sand ladders underneath there, which is critical. And another thing to note, we have snap pads on our hydraulics. So if you're not familiar with that product, I highly recommend you look that up. They're on there all the time. In a situation like this, this is very soft sand, obviously, and if it can lift, if it puts down enough of a footprint to lift a motorhome up on its weight on sand, you can imagine if you go on a paved campsite and you hit this, there's no stuff you have to put down or anything. It's really nice, really convenient. So I recommend you taking a look into those. In fact, we'll put them down in the description so you can check it out, because you need different sizes for different motorhomes. So I know that the Jayco and Tegra C classes need a certain size, and we'll put that down there. So, all right, let's go. So once we get out, one of the important things to us is there's not too many places in this country where you can just drive on the beach, and it's like hollow ground for us. We've been going out there since we were like 17 years old, and you got to leave it better than you found it. Super important. It's not too many spots in this country where you can just drive on the beach and enjoy yourselves, and we do not want that taken away. So we follow the rules very seriously. So you see our kids filling in our divots here. We don't want to leave that. God forbid some poor fisherman's coming off after fishing at night and hits those potholes and messes his truck up or anything. So put it back the way we found it. And actually, as we backed up, our neighbors over there needed a jump. They were just outside, having fun, listening to music, and lost track of time. Had a dead battery, so we went and helped them out. And after that was burger time. So as you can see, this magnificent lever here puts us into four-wheel drive. We're currently in four-wheel low. I like to go out on the sand low range second gear, and we can confirm this by this little light over here that says you're in four-wheel drive. That's our four-wheel drive light. So everything sounds peachy. That's until you forget to flip the hubs in the front. So you drive out on the sand in two-wheel drive. Somehow we managed to get about a mile and a half and start backing up in two-wheel drive, which is pretty impressive. But you gotta flip your hubs, ladies and gentlemen, or else you get a lesson in recovery. So see right here, it says lock. It works a lot better when it says lock and then free. When you drive on the beach when it says free, you end up not being free.